This is Carbonus. Yeah, and no zombies, two fairies. They told me people drink. I wrote it they has two different classes. There's like
All right. Good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. We can open it. All right. So before we begin, a couple of rants as usual. So first thing, the mic is not working again. So please don't make me shout. So I know activity is going on. Everybody has a good discussion going on, but I need the class to start on the next topic. So instead of shouting, we'll try hand signals. Shouting hasn't worked in previous classes. So if I raise my hand, please, this means stop your discussions. I want some attention, and then we'll start whatever I want to look at. Okay. All right. The second one, a little bit more important. So today's lecture will be, by the end of this lecture, you will be developing a full stack app completely, including including the databases. Right? We are coming to the point where we'll be able to start from a front end, middleware, Express servers, and also the databases. Okay, we'll be pulling data. We'll be creating APIs. Okay. So two things to this. I'll be doing some live coding. You will see some of the activities I'll be live coding. You guys can follow along and see how those are done. Some of the activities I will not be live coding. Okay, I'm going to show you the code. I want you guys to study the code and then we'll walk through it. Now, there are two reasons for that. The first is time constraint, of course. I want to make sure that we end the class completing all the activities. But even that is not as important. I'm pretty good with the time management, and I've seen that I can finish those classes in time. The second one is more important, right? We are on week 14, and we are dangerously coming close to the end of the program. 10 weeks. All right. Out of those 10 weeks, 4 weeks are your projects, right? Project 2, 2 weeks. Project 3, 2 weeks. So 4 weeks are gone. So if you look at it, we only have 6 weeks of lecture. All right. And by the end of project 2, from my side, you guys are ready for interviews. You guys have gained enough knowledge that everything after project 2 is good. We'll be doing React and Mongo and all that stuff, but if you have network, if you have talked to other people, you will understand that those are the add-on skills always, right? The main skills, by project 2, you already have those. Okay, so one of the skills when you get a job, right, most probably as a junior programmer, no company is going to ask you to create a product from scratch, right? There's an extremely rare chance that is going to happen. What is going to happen is they're going to put you on a project with somebody senior. You will be working on a project that already exists, and you will be adding some features and making it better. All right. What does that mean? That means you will be looking at somebody else's code and trying to understand what is going on. You cannot just go in and say, hey, I'm going to scratch this whole thing. I'm going to start fresh, right? The response would be, can you do it for free? Well, no. Well, we have already spent this much money, so no, you can't do that. All right. And as engineers, we spend a lot of time looking at others people's code, right? Because again, it's the same thing. As a junior developer, you go into a company, they want you to get accustomed to their standards, and you see how things work over there. So that's why it's kind of process. Okay. So And you can see this in our TAs also, right? You go to your TAs, you just show them your homework. Hey, this is not working, right? And everybody has different style, right? But they go through your code and they kind of understand what's going on, and pretty quickly they come up with a solution, right? Um, Again, and some of you guys, some of your peers have that ability. I've seen, people go to somebody else and they say, hey, it's not working, and I've seen people are helping them out. So that's one of the good qualities to have. But not all of you have that, right? I've seen people struggle to read other people's code. So starting now, I want you guys to get into the habit of this, right? So I'm going to show you the code. I want you to, look through it, understand what is going on. It's just not look at the comments and be like, okay, this is what I need to complete. I'm going to start coding over there. All right. Please look at the template. Look at this, whatever has been solved for you. Right. For the activities, you get a template most of the times, right? Some of the parts are already done. You have to complete the commented out part, right? I would suggest look at some of those parts which are already done, understand how this is working, and then go ahead and complete the activity, right? And in some of the activities that I show you, I want you guys to look at the structure. Make sure, first of all, make sure how would you run that code. Npm install, package, whatever it requires, complete that part. Then, before you start doing anything, look at the code, how it is structured, what is going on, what is the code doing. Okay? So this is the really important skill that as an engineers we need to have. Okay? So that's why I want to show you some code and then kind of get into that habit. All right? That was the end of my rant. Any questions? What is it?
It was kind round.
It's a kind rant. All right.
Daniel, real quick.
Yes.
For problems like the remote, right? So do they usually use comments? So you know how we comment a lot of things during our code saying like, okay, this is where I'm going to date
Okay.
cars.
So that's a good question. Now there are two schools of thought. Some people say that your code should be written in such a way that you don't need comment. That if I look at your code, your variable declaration, they have good names and all that stuff, that I shouldn't need comments to understand. I kind of follow that school of thought. If you want to look at, if you see my code and you need comments to understand what I'm doing, then I say that I probably haven't done a good job writing my code. But again, the other school of thought is that you write your comments, you document every single function, because 6 months later, 1 month later, somebody new joins in, and then they have no clue what is going on. Again, and that comes with where you are working, what their standard is. Some companies have that standards. Some companies have that standard. Say, hey, no coding at all. Your code should be just code without any comments. But you write your code in such a way that it is easy to understand and see what is going on. Okay, so it's just a choice. Both sides exist. It's just that do you use a space or you use a tab in your code? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Some people abbreviate.
Abbreviate? Yeah. Well, some people use underscore in their variable declaration, so it's just a different way of doing. Again, wherever you get your job, we need to follow the standard that has been established and see what they're doing. Okay. All right. So last week, or well, earlier this week, we kind of ended the class on handlebars. So we'll start back from there, and we'll start with a little bit quick revision of handlebars with an activity. It's 06. We'll start with this one. Okay. And one of the TAs will slack you out this exercise. We'll do this together before we start doing some more complicated exercises. Okay? All right. Again, just a quick revision. Let me open this file, unsolved, so you can see the packages. Handlebars is a templating engine. All right. What it means is that you create a template, you create an HTML template, and then you give the ability to input or embed some other HTML pages. Okay, basically you will have a starting HTML page, right? Kind of like your header and footer with some fixed content. And in this, you will have your new pages coming in. All right, these are your dynamic pages, and you will have your home page coming in, maybe your contacts page or some other page. The content over here is being replaced, and this is possible with a templating engine such as handlebars. Okay. Now in my class, I said the use case for handlebars. I haven't seen at all somebody using in a professional environment handlebars, but handlebars is important to understand as a concept because this is the precursor to React, Angular, Vue, any other popular framework that you use. All right, all of those frameworks use the same concept that we are looking at handlebars. And the reason we are doing handlebars is because it is easier to set up versus React and Angular. It is quicker to see and kind of start coding. Okay, that's why we are looking at handlebars. But the concept is extremely similar. When we go into React, you will see they're using similar kind of concepts. Okay, these kind of applications are known as single page applications or SPAs. Single page. All right, single page applications. And this is again AngularJS, React, Vue, or any other framework. They kind of pride themselves on creating this kind of applications. Okay. All right. So now we come to the part, how do we use handlebars? All right. The first thing when I mentioned that handlebars kind of follows a extremely strict directory structure. You need to have your views folder. Okay. And then within your views folder, you will have a layouts folder, which is going to have main.handlebars. And main.handlebars is always going to be this template, this thing. That kind of doesn't change. That kind of stays the same. Okay. And every other handlebar page is going to come and embed itself in the main file. Yes.
So that's where your header and footer is always going to be?
Yeah. Most of the time, yes. You'll keep your header, your footers, and something that you think is kind of will remain the same throughout your website, right? Your content is the one that is changing. Some of the things that kind of remains the same go on the top. Yes.
The main is the index because I see it changes the name sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's just the index page basically.
Basically, it's the index page. Yeah. But handlebar has a name specific, so they call it main.
Okay. And then everything you're putting goes into that.
Right.
That's why.
And again, don't confuse it or don't call it index because in some of the examples you will see index.handlebars some over here. You see on the exercise right now on the screen, I have an index handlebars. So don't confuse that with main, right? Main is your main thing, and everything else you can call anything you want. Okay. So the index over here, it's kind of
okay.
I wouldn't call it index, but the exercise already has that index. I would probably have given a better name. But again, don't confuse this index with this one. Main is your main template, and everything else outside this layouts folder is going to come and embed itself at some point in time. Okay? So with that explanation, if I look at my code, unsolved one, if I see views, layouts, after layouts, I have two handlebar files, right? This means that I have two pages that are going to come and embed themselves inside my main at some point. All right, that's what it tells me. Okay, I haven't even opened the code. I'm just looking at the directory structure. Okay, so those are my directory structure for handlebars. Then I have my usual server.js. That's going to have some routes in it. Okay.
That confused me because that's what I was doing, and honestly, like from when we did it on Thursday, we had the main, and then
Right.
we had the different layout, and then when I was looking at that, I thought that the index was the main because
Right. Again, it's just a name. Again, this is a example that is already there, but I wouldn't call it index because I see where the confusion is. You can call it anything. Remember when we did the exercise?
Ice cream and ice
Right.
cream.
That's why I intentionally called it ice cream and ice creams. In the example, I think in the solution they have ICS or some different name, but it's kind of confusion. But it has no relationship with index or anything. Okay? All right. So what do we have to do here now? Edit the server.js with dog.handlebars and index.handlebars to recreate the application. All right. So let's go ahead and look at the code. Let's start with our main. Okay. So main has the main template and it has 3 curly brackets with a body. 3 curly brackets again mean that anything that is in between this you render it as an HTML. Okay, three curly brackets or handlebars mean that anything between this is going to be rendered as an HTML. Okay, so this means that anything that comes over here, I pass in over here, is going to be kind of rendered as an HTML page, right? And we understand this is where my docs.handlebar and index.handlebar are going to come and place itself at some point in time. Okay, so looks like this is complete. I don't have to do anything with this file, right? This is the important part, but it is already done for us, so I don't have to worry about main.handlebar. That's complete. Let's look at dog and handlebars. Okay, so there's nothing over here. So looks like we have to do something over here. We'll come back and see what. And then index.html dot handlebar is also not complete. So we'll come and fix this also. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with our server.js. Okay. Let's do this. Let me minimize this so I can actually get an overview and see what my code is. Okay, so this is my code. We'll start from the top, right? Top two lines, Express, installing Express, getting everything together, getting the port numbers, line number 6, line number 8, using handlebars, all right? Everybody clear until line number 8? We're just importing our Node.js libraries, all right? Line number 10 and 11, again, really important. As I went over this on Thursday, app.engine says the first argument is saying look for any file with extensions .handlebars, okay? And then within those, the main starting point will be main.handlebars. That's what the line number 10 means, okay? So you are basically giving your control to the handlebar express Node.js application with any file that has extension handlebars. We don't see the dot over here, but that's what it means. All right, line number 10. Line number 11 is express can be used with different templating engines. As I said, handlebars is not the only one. So in this case, line number 11, we are telling Express that please go ahead and use handlebars as the templating engine or the view engine. Okay, without these two lines, you won't be able to process any of these files. Okay, and this way, these are the two lines, these are the configurations that tell Express that go ahead and how to handle your handlebar files, right? Because if you look at your handlebars, this is HTML, but it has some weird tags over here, right? Those curly brackets. HTML by default doesn't understand what these curly brackets are. It's going to fail in your browser, right? But your Express handlebars over here kind of knows what to do with those two things, okay? When your page is rendering, what happens is it renders the HTML, it renders this. When it comes to it, it says, oh, I don't know what to do with it. I'm going to ignore it, and I'm going to guess that whoever wrote this code is smart enough, so something else is coming later on which is going to fix this, right? And something else is our handlebars, these two lines. Okay, all right, so 1 to 11 lines are always going to be same in our exercises throughout. So I'm going to be copy pasting this stuff. Make sure you're comfortable with it. A challenge would be, kind of take this, isolate it into a different file and kind of import it into your each project, but that's kind of different scenario. For now, simple cases, we'll just start from here. Okay? All right, everybody good until 11? Okay. Now let's go ahead and see what we have to do. So it looks like we have an array, all right, array of animals, and it's an array of objects basically, okay? The object has 3 properties: animal type, pet, fierceness. Okay, and then we have 3. Let's call these routes. Okay, the first one is dog. The second is all pets and all non-pets. And this is what we need to go ahead and complete. All right, let's open the first one. Handlebar requires an object to be sent to dog.handlebars file. Lucky for us, animal 0 is an object. Send the dog object from animals array to the dog.handlebars file. Okay? So it is extremely similar to what we saw in the previous exercise. You can open up your ice cream if you want to, the ice cream app, and then kind of relate to it what is going on. Okay. So looks like I have to get the animal 0, which is the first object, and this is what I need to take and pass into my docs.handlebar. And how do we do this? We use the response. Since it is called res, I usually call it complete name response, but the exercise has it res. It has the same meaning. It means response. So response has a method called render. That's what we've been using. Okay. And render takes in 2 parameters. The first one is the handlebar page that you're trying to access, which is dog.handlebars. No need for the extension. And the second is uh, the the data that you need to pass into your dog object, dog handlebars file, right? Again, always remember the second argument has to be an object, all right? Arrays, strings, numbers, none of those work. It has to be an object. So if you're trying to pass something, you have to wrap it inside an object, okay? Lucky for us, animals array is an array of objects. So if I do this, it actually sends an object, all right? Everybody clear on that? Object, this is an object. I'm trying to send this thing. It's already an object, so I don't have to do anything extra. I can just do this simply. Okay? Yes.
What is different between different objects, but nothing there's a different list and
It was an array. So you cannot pass an array. You have to wrap that array inside an object. That's what we were doing. I think the next one of these has the same thing. We'll take a look at it. Okay? So okay. So better? Oops. Okay. So this part is complete, but my dogs.handlebar is not complete. So let's go ahead and now we need to complete this. Now what is my handlebar file getting? It's getting an object, right? And this object has 3 properties. Animal type, pet, and Pearson. So I can just access this over here and then show them on the screen. So let's create some p tags and then show our data. So the type is it animal type. All right. So here's the other part. You see I'm using 2 curly brackets. This means versus the 3 one. The 2 means that anything that is in between this, evaluate it. It's probably a variable. Go and try to evaluate and get the value for it. Right? This is just like a variable thing, right? Use a variable, it kind of replaces it with a value. The same thing you are doing over here. So animal type means that, okay, I'm going to pass you an object, and within that object, there's a property called animal type. Go and find the value of it and then replace it over here. All right? It's not going to render it as an HTML. That's the difference. Okay? Let's go ahead and create the next one. The next one was pet. And it's a Boolean. So let's just type in pet. Okay? And the third one is, what is the third one? Fierceness. Okay. And then fierceness property. Okay? So my dog.handlebars is complete, and this route is complete. Do I need to do anything else? I don't think so. I think this route is complete. So if we go ahead and install, complete this, we should be able to run this. Last line, line number 60, making sure this is running on the server. Yep, looks good. Yes, ma'am.
If we're sending variables within the animal to a bias and file dog.handlebar.
Oh, because the first one is a dog, I think that's why.
It doesn't work with anything else.
Yeah, it works with anything. It's just this is the example that they have laid it out. But yeah, I think the purpose for this one was trying to show that the object you are passing is going to be a dog. So that's why they call the page dog. You're not passing, but you can pass anything. It doesn't matter. Yes. Okay. It has p tags, and then I'm using the property. Yes.
So in this case, like if we were, say filling out pages that have hard-coded information on them, like, but we want to dynamically just swap them based on where they're trying to access, that's why we got like the dog, we got the turbulence.
Yeah, whatever the other page. Yes. Yeah. Right. Yep. 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 But in practical purpose, we probably won't do it because then it will create a lot of pages. There might be a better way, but this is just a small example. That's how we are doing it. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
On the servers.js, sorry, it's a question, but dog, you don't, when it says rest.render and it says dog, you don't designate the file path, you just say dog.
Just say dog. Yeah. Express handlebar will figure it out. Again, and why is it doing it? Because I told you, if you're following the correct directory structure, it knows where to look for this file. If you have this layout correctly, you have views folder. Within the views, you have layouts, and outside the layouts, you have your other files.
Okay.
Express handlebars. This is it. It knows where to look for. Again, that's why I was saying it is so strict. If you change a bit, it won't know where to look for dog. That's where it is going to look for that file.
So there's not looking
What is that?
So those two files, the engine and the app engine and the app set that all up for you so that you
Yes.
follow. Oh, okay.
Right.
So when it's the res.render, the dog, so that's just looking for the file name.
It's looking for the handlebars file called dog.
Okay, so that's why it's like the URL.
This thing, yeah, this file, and it is saying that I need to pass in some data to it, and this is what I need to pass into it. So in my dog.handlebars, I'm expecting an object. An object has 3 properties, so I can access it like this. Okay. Again, that's why it has a kind of strict directory. You can change it, but it's not as complicated. But I wouldn't go into it. There's a whole documentation. They tell you what you need. You need to set up some more configuration, but this is the easier way, especially if you're not going to use it after project 2. Yes.
Would there ever be a reason to have any other files in that layouts folder?
And this layouts folder.
Or is that just a way to make it obvious that's the main instead of...
Right. To me, what I understand, again, as I said, I haven't used it professionally. From the example that I've seen, it's the way to make sure that this is where my main file is. We'll see there's some concept of partials. We'll see in the next class. Those are kind of like the components, but for the most part, I have not seen any other file in the layouts folder. Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead. Yes.
Is syntax important too for view? Because if you put view or views as at the end,
Yeah.
so you have to have the S at the end.
Yes. From what I understand from the document, I was trying a few things and it kind of was failing. From what they are saying, it has to be views, layout, and main.handlebars or something. Layouts. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and npm install this. I have a package.json. So you guys should see a package.json in your install that should install everything that is required, and then we should be able to run this. Okay, so my server is running. The next thing, I can go to my URL and so localhost / the URL is dog. Okay, if you go to the dog, I can see my output. So this means one of the routes is working. All right, good. All right. So let me go ahead and stop this. Let's go on to the next one, which is all pets. I'm going to minimize this. We'll start with the next one. All right. Same thing, handlebar. This time they're using index.handlebar. So this is a different page. Okay. Handlebar requires an object to be sent to index.handlebars. All right. Send the animals to index.handlebar. Remember that animals is an array, not an object. Right? One of you guys, George, you were asking the question from the ice creams. This time we have to send the whole array, but the array, we cannot send an array, we have to send a object. So we're going to wrap that array in an object and then send it. All right, so let's start with this render res.render. This time we are using index, and the next one is our object, right? And we are passing animals array. This is called animals. So again, ideally, usually what I would do is I would say animals, okay. Again, and the reason is I told you, like, engineers, we don't have a creative way of coming up new variable names. Animals, I'm like, oh, I can reuse the same name, but just to avoid the confusion, I'm going to call this animal list, so that you guys know that this is the variable that you're going to access in your index.handlebars, and not this name, okay. So what is happening over here? I have to pass an array, but I cannot pass an array directly, so I wrapped it around an object. I created a property called animal list, which is basically this array. Okay. Now I can access this list in my index.html, index.handlebars file. All right. So let's open up our index.handlebars here. Okay, so looks like we need to loop through our array and list all the pets. All right, so let's create an unordered list, and then we are going to create multiple LIs. All right, on Thursday and Wednesday for other class, we saw how to loop through. What's the looping for in handlebars? We use hash each. Okay, so wrap this hash each, and then after hash you need to pass in the list or array that you are looping through, and we called it animal list. Okay, this is the array that I'm looping through. And then before even you start the part in between, go ahead and close this each. Okay, um, a lot of you wouldn't know, but in older programming languages, I can see where the syntax is coming from. They used to have a begin and an end, especially in Pascal and some other programming languages. They used to, if you had a for loop, they used to have a begin and an end, and everything in between was what's going on. So I see that they're kind of following the similar format. So that's why you have a start, which is an each, and an end each, which kind of looks like an HTML end. And this says anything in between this is going to be looping through, everything else it can ignore. Okay? So in between this, what do I need to do? I will create an li, because I'm creating a list, and within the list I'll just use my properties. Okay? So we can kind of have the same code that we have over here. We can create those p tags. I can simply have the same type over here, right? Because I'm looping through an animal list, and animal list is an array of objects. At this point, when I loop through one, I get an object, and I can show this object like this, just like in dogs.handlebar. Okay? Questions?
Good question.
Yes.
So on those where you just put the actual array name, you didn't have to state that is the object of the array. Like you didn't have to put animal dot animal list. Right?
I didn't have to put animal dot
Yeah.
animal type.
Yeah.
Right.
For since you have to make you have to make that animal list. Oh, I see them. I got that.
Right. Animal list is an array of objects. So when I loop through it, it already gets one object. So you don't have to do anything. Okay. So if you run this file, you should see an array of all the pets being listed. Is it working? Okay. Oh, cannot. Oh, what is it called?
All pets.
All dash pets. Okay. So you see all your pets over here. Let me close this and see. Okay, any other questions before we move on to the last one? Yes.
Can I go back and see
Hold on.
your columns? I put on just the error that it failed to look up index
Failed to look up index in the views directory. Okay, that's interesting. you have the right name, index, okay, and then you're passing in an object.
I mean, it's the same code. Does not render.
Yep.
It's not something, so after that's
Did you restart your server?
that's yeah.
And did you restart your server? All right, just one more minute and we'll start the next one. If anybody else wants to start, take a look at the next one. You got it?
You can go back to the URL.
What was the issue?
Get a slash inside of the
Yeah, add slash indexes.
Oh, okay.
back
Yes.
to the browser.
The browser? Oh, I closed it. What are you looking for?
The URL. So you get
Right.
host 8080 slash what?
Slash what? Look at the code. You can guess the URL from the code.
From server.js.
Yeah. What are you trying to access? Yep. The URL is right in front of you.
I know, right? Good catch. That's it.
All right. Everybody good? Any other questions? Okay. So let's look at the last one. All right. This handlebar requires an object to be sent to index.handlebars. All right. So we are still using index.handlebars. Send all the animals that are not pets to index.handlebars. Okay. All right. So here's the good part about handlebars. This time I have to look through my array and only send animals that are not pets. What does this mean? Let's go back to our array. So you'll see there's a Boolean pet, true, true, and false. So the false one means these are not pets. Okay, everybody get that?
Yes.
So I need to go loop through my array and then find the animals that are not pets and then pass that array inside my index.handlebars. Okay? Everybody understand the use case? Do I need to change anything on my index.handlebars? Absolutely nothing, because it's still expecting an array and it's going to loop through and show whatever I pass in. All my code is to be done over here. I don't have to change a thing in index.handlebars. And that's the beauty of the templating engine, that you have a fixed template. All is your data is changing and your web page changes without you modifying that page anymore. Okay? So let's loop through this and try to figure out how would we find our... Blair, are you going to do that? Is that why you were raising your hand?
I don't know. I know something, it just doesn't work.
All right. So let's go ahead and loop through our animals array. Okay. Okay, and then we are looking for if animals I dot pet. Okay. What am I looking for? I'm looking for all the objects that's where the pet variable type boolean is false. That's what I'm interested in. Okay. And then what you can do is you can create a new array over here and then embed everything over there and then pass it back. So you can do a let non pets, okay, and then non pets dot push animals I. Okay, so this way I'm going to loop through my original array and I'm creating a new one, and this one has all non-pets in it. Okay, once this is complete, I can do rest.render, and then what am I passing? I'm using index, and then I'm passing in my non-pets array. It has to be an object, so this time I'm just going to call them the same name. Okay. And then this should run without any pet, with the non-pets. So let's go ahead and run this and then make sure this is running. All pets. Oh, it's a different route. All non-pets. So okay. So it doesn't show me anything. It's looking for a different object. Excellent. You guys heard that? So I'm passing in a different object, but my index file is looking for animal list. All right. Excellent. That was excellent debugging. So let's go ahead and make it animal list. Right. And I wanted to make sure you guys understand. It is looking for the exact name that you're passing in. Right. Now I can see my non-pets animals over here. Let me go ahead and stop this and all right. Any questions so far? Everybody good? Understand how handlebars working? Yes.
Can you show me again, what did you do differently that would have, oh, it's the issue with the animal list?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So my index is expecting animal list, and I was passing in a different name. That's all. Okay. Quick thing over here. This thing, the false. You can also make it a shortcut. Instead of doing this, you can put an exclamation mark, which means not. Right. Again, it's a. If you understand this, it's good. If not, it just means it's reversing your statement. So if it is true, it's going to give you false. If it is false, it kind of gives you true. So this is the short form to write the same thing. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Rant. All pets. What are you looking for?
I just, for some reason I copied
Okay. All right. Give me a minute.
So that one just loops through animals and shows all the pets.
Everything.
So that one's not looking for like the pets that show true, right?
No. It says all pets. It just looks for everything.
Okay.
Oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, you can change it. You can also add, since it says all pets, so basically it should loop through again and then look for only the ones that are pets. Yeah, you're kind of right.
Which means this is
Right. I thought it was saying that output everything. Okay. But what you can do is you can use the same code above. Instead of false, you will reverse and you will look for all the pets that are where the pet variable is true. Good catch. Okay. All right, Joffrey, you had a question?
So the res.render again, the first variable is that's the URL that you're going to send it to.
Yes.
And then, like for the first one, well, I mean, both of them, it's an object. It's always going to be an object that you pass through. And
Always going to be an object. The second one.
when you're setting it, like the first parameter, like animal list, because that's in the index, it's referencing that always. That's why the first time it didn't work when you
Yes.
changed the name.
Yes. Because I'm passing in an object and the property is called animal list and that's what I'm accessing it over here.
Okay.
Right?
And
So
then-
these two match.
Yeah. So then in the second, the non-pet one,
Non-pet
because
one?
you set the variable non-pets as the array. That's why when you pass that through,
Right.
it shouldn't go.
Right. I can pass anything on the as a value, but this name should match what index.html expects. Okay. All right. All right. So fortunately, or unfortunately, this was the easy part. All right. So this time, now we are going to create. Let me open this because I can't talk when I'm trying to find this activity. It's not the day planner activity, it's the task saver. Yeah. Okay. So and I'll code this activity out. So um, in this next one, I'm going to create a full complete app. All right. This app will start from the database, and then we will call those APIs in our code. Okay. So before I begin that, I want to talk about REST or RESTful APIs. All right. We are creating RESTful APIs now. Now, REST stands for Representational State Transfer. Okay. REST stands for Representational State Transfer. Now, this is an architecture, or this is basically an architecture that a few people came up with, right? It is a set of instructions. Basically there are six, what we call them, constraints. There are six properties that if your API follows those six constraints and properties, you can call that API as a RESTful API. Okay, so REST is basically an architecture point of view, is a constraint, is a mechanism that kind of guides you how to write your APIs. Now these six, let me see. I'll post an article. So there are six properties. You don't have to worry too much about those properties. The APIs that we are writing by default kind of follow all those. But some of them is like one of the properties called statelessness. All right. So your API should be statelessness. What it means is that once a request comes into your server completes the request, your server should forget about it. There shouldn't be any more communication. You communicate with your server, you send the data back, and communication is broken. Your server has forgotten that something happened. It's done, right? Your request has been completed, closed out. The next one that comes in is a new one, right? And we see in our APIs that's how Express and that's how Node.js is working anyway, right? So any API that you are building using those tools, they will follow these standards anyway. But that I wanted to point out that that's what REST means. One of them is statelessness. One is cache. So you should have your server should have some properties that you can cache some of the requests. And Express, once you read about it in the documentation, allows you to cache some of the requests. So you can read on that. But that's one of the properties. One of the other properties is that there should be a client server architecture. This means that you should have a server code, and then your client should be accessing it and returning whatever code it wants, right? JSON properties. And that's what we are doing, right? We have a browser as a client, then when we are building a server, it kind of serves our HTML pages, and it also has our Express server running, right? So in total, there are six properties. Again, it's not as important, but you can read up on those six constraints. These define an API as RESTful. Okay, that's all it means. Again, REST is not a protocol or anything. By protocol, I mean your protocol HTTP. It's a protocol. It's a means of communication on the internet. That's not what REST is. REST is just an architecture. It's a point of view. It's a set of constraints that define an API that say, hey, if you're following these six constraints, you can call your APIs as RESTful. That's all it means. It's an architecture point of view, like a design pattern. Yes.
So RESTful APIs are, they do have state.
They don't have a state.
They don't have state.
Statelessness. There's no state.
Like
They
just
don't maintain a state. Poop, done.
Why are we transferring state?
Right. There shouldn't be any state between them. Okay? All right. Again, the APIs that we are building already are RESTful. That's what the tools are for. So we don't have to worry about too much about it. But there's a theory. I can post a link. You can read up more about RESTful APIs. Okay. All right. Some of the things, and these are near and dear to my heart, because as a API developer, as a backend developer, we follow some standards. Okay. All right. When you are writing an API, please follow some of these I'll outline like a couple of the more important ones. First of all is the name of your API, right? Start with API slash, your route should be start with slash API slash and then your API name. Okay, extremely important. This tells me that the route that I'm accessing is actually an API. Okay. Now, how do you name your API? Your API should always be a plural noun. Should be a plural noun. Okay. Never or please don't create an API which is a verb. Okay. So, for example, I have a database movies, right? I need to write some APIs for my database called movies. What it should do is it's going to get a number of movies. It can get one movie, it can delete a movie, and it can update movie. Okay? What did I just outline? I outlined CRUD operations. Okay? CRUD, CRUD. Create, read, update, delete. Excellent. Okay? So, now, if I want to create an APIs for movies, how am I going to name them? It's going to be a plural now. So I'm going to call my APIs movies. Okay. Now the question is, how do I differentiate these APIs? So I want to create an API that gets me all movies. Then I also want to create an API that adds data to my database, right? And then I want to create an API that updates my database. All right. How do I create this? This is the wrong way. Get movies. Add movies. Update movies. Delete movies. And then there's one more. It comes over here. Get one movie and then get movies. Okay. So there is absolutely nothing wrong if you write this, follow this structure, and then you code this out. Your API is still going to work, right? But it doesn't follow the standard. Why? Because it has verb in it, right? And I have personally done this mistake. I mean, when I was learning, I have written APIs with this one. Okay, so please don't make that mistake. There's a extremely useful guide, and Microsoft have published it. It's if you Google Microsoft REST API guide, Microsoft REST API guidelines. It's a little bit complex to read at this point, but I will outline and I will tell you guys the important points from that guide. Okay, the first one is do not create verb names. Okay, so what is going to happen now? How do I translate this over here? So I'm going to call them API/movies. If I want to get one movie, still going to be API movies. If I want to add, it's still going to be movies. If I want to update, my API name is still going to be movies. And then delete is still going to be movies. Okay. Now what's the issue over here? All of them have the same name. If you write two APIs with the same name, your code is not going to work. It's going to give you an issue. All right. Now, how do we differentiate these? We have really nice HTTP methods that they have defined. They have defined it for a reason, right? Get, post, put, delete. All right. Everybody remember those? Get, post, put, delete. Again, these are there for a reason. All right. Now, can I use get for deleting my movies? You can.
Ooh, just blew some lines.
Again, HTTP has given you these methods, but there's no way of enforcing how do you use them. Again, it's like JavaScript. You can do whatever you want. You shouldn't do it. Shouldn't do it.
You can do it, just don't do it.
Imagine if I do a delete on my get, and instead of getting, I'm deleting the whole database. Again, HTTP, if you do it, it's not going to stop you.
Wacky API.
Why? Because you are the one, you have complete control now. You are writing your API. You can write it whatever you want. You want to trick somebody in deleting instead of getting, you can totally do it. All right? Please don't do it, but you can. All right? There is nobody who's enforcing these things, right? In your code, what I mean by that is, in your code, you can do whatever you want. You can totally use, and I've seen this. Instead of the get, when I was working at Walmart, at one point they were just using post for everything. It doesn't matter. It was a get, it was an add, it was an update, it was delete. They were just using post for all of these. And the reason was, which I didn't understand, they were saying it's a security reason, right? When I joined the team, we kind of discussed and we kind of changed back. They were saying, yeah, it's an old school method. We thought it helped with security, but it doesn't actually do anything. Okay. Right. They had the impression that you can, because the part of post is the data that you are passing goes inside your body. It's hidden inside. It's not actually hidden. You can open your browser. You can actually see what you're passing in. So I don't know what you're trying to hide. There's nothing secure about that. Everything is still on your Chrome. Kind of shows you everything. Anyway, so now how do we translate? How do we differentiate this? So the first one, you're going to use your HTTP get method over here. Okay. The second one, again, get. This is adding movies, so I'm going to use my post. This will be my put, and this will be my delete. Okay. Now Express app has all these methods, and that's how you differentiate. Okay. When you're using these different HTTP methods, you can differentiate between APIs. It's not going to complain. Now, the last three are still fine, right? The first two are still in conflict because I'm using get for both of them, right? Here's the difference. The first one says get movies. The first one, without any parameter, tells me that I need to pass an array. It's always going to be a collection, okay? If somebody comes to my route and says get/movies with a get HTTP, I am always going to pass a list or collection, which in our terms kind of translates to an array. Okay, this is the standard. If somebody says www something something /API/movies, this means the intention is I need a list of movies. I need a collection. Okay? The second one is I need a single movie. All right? In this one, you add a parameter :ID. Okay? Now URL becomes API/movies, and let's suppose I have ID by numbers. So I will say number 5. So this means this URL should always give me an object, single record, or in our case, it's always going to return me a single object. All right. Again, API/movies get gives me a collection of movies. API movies /:ID gives me a single movie. All right. These are the API standards. The second ones, the other three are easier. API/movies with a post. This means I'm passing in a body. I'm passing some data in the body of the post, and you need to go and add that data in your database. That's what post means. The fourth one, API movies with a put. I'm trying to update. Right? What am I trying to update? A single object. right? I'm trying to update a single collection, a single record in my database. So again, for put, oh, actually, you know what? You put, you don't, I think you just pass in the body. I don't remember. Is it? Okay. So put can go both ways. Yeah, put has both actually. So you put an ID, just like your get, and this tells me which record I'm trying to update. All right. Select update set from the table name, and then you give an ID, right? Where this is equal to some ID. So this is the ID it's going to update, and what the object that it is going to update, you pass it in your body. Okay. I'm trying to update a certain record, but what am I trying to update with? So let's suppose I have a movie name and um, year, right? And then I'm trying to update the year. Let's suppose I have the wrong year in the database. So I'm going to call my put request. I'm going to pass the ID for this movie, right? I'm going to say ID is 5, and then go ahead and update it with this object. All right, so where do I pass the data? It has to go in your body. So put has the collection, it's kind of combination of get and post. Get why? Because you have an ID in the URL, and then post why? Because the data that you're trying to update goes in your body. Okay? The last one, delete. Delete, you are deleting a single row. Just like get, you can pass in an ID, and that's it. And then you say, hey, go ahead and delete this record, and it will delete it. Okay? So these are the standards that we follow when we are creating our APIs. The CRUD operations, all right, standards, plural, nouns, and then depending on what you're trying to do, you pass in the right HTTP and the right parameters. Yes.
You actually use the word get at the end?
No, it's the app.get, the express.
No, I'm talking in the URL one.
No.
No, okay, so
No, this is.
I don't understand how post and get can have the same URL.
The URL is the same. It's when you're creating your route. How are you creating your route? You're saying app.get, right? And then you're using app.post, right? So that's how it differentiates it.
I think he's asking how does the server know which route to follow based on the URL that was called.
Yeah, like what the client's trying to get.
So you from your browser, you're going to make a GET request or a POST request, right? If you make a POST request, it's going to look for this one. If you make a GET request, it's going to look for this one. It's a one-on-one.
It's a different method that you're calling.
How do you call a post from your browser? $.ajax, then you pass in a method over there, post or get,
right, okay.
right? So you are telling which one do you want to call, and that's how it differentiates.
I got it, thank you.
Okay?
That totally makes sense.
Okay. It's kind of confusing, I see it, but you understand, right?
Yeah, no, I
Yes.
So for the delete, if you don't put a colon ID, you delete the whole thing.
No, you want again. Who's writing this code behind this? You are the one who's writing. So in your code, you are a good programmer, and you have written validation where you are expecting the ID. If the ID doesn't come through in your code, you are going to say, hey, give me an ID, and hopefully you're going to stop over here and not delete the whole thing. Again, okay, all right. So this is nothing is automatic or dynamic about this. The code behind this, we are writing this code. We are the ones who are handling how this works. If I don't pass an ID, then in my code, I should have a validation saying, hey, you need to pass an ID. I'm not going to do anything unless you pass an ID. And then send the response back, say, I was not able to delete it. Again, right? We are writing our APIs. Now, when you were working on project 1, when you were looking for APIs, you guys remember, you must have seen kind of similar format being followed, right? There were plural nouns. If it was a good API, then you had your ID. You had to pass in something to get a single row. If you just did, it passes you an array, and then you have to pass through an array. There was no API for put and delete because they don't want you modifying their data, right? Or the post also. So you probably just use these two. Okay? So this is how, again, the code behind this, we are the ones who are writing. So we control how these things work. All right? If I call a post and I don't pass in a body, I'm going to write some code and say, hey, you didn't pass me a body, so I don't know what to do with it, and I'm going to error out. Okay, nothing is going to happen automatically. Nothing is going to happen if you're trying to delete, because we control this and we know what we are trying to delete, so you won't allow anybody deleting all your code. Okay, questions? Good. All right. So again, please make sure to follow at least these standards. One of the other things that you will see when you're writing, or you have seen some other, you will see a version number. Let's suppose slash v1.0 or v1. All right. What this means is that I can version my APIs. I can say this is my version 1 API. Again, this is optional. You guys don't have to version it, but in a real life situation, you will see versioning going on. Why is this necessary? Let's suppose my API kind of changes. Now I'm returning completely different set of data, right? But there are people who are using my version 1 API. Okay, so what am I going to do? I'm going to create another API with version 2. And then I'm going to tell people, hey, there's a version 2 out there, but version 1 it still works, but I've created a new version, and kind of start moving towards that version, right? That's the good way to do it. You don't want to deploy a version 2 and erase the whole v1, and everybody is like, well, what happened to your APIs? Well, I changed it to v1 or v2, and it's a complete data set. Don't do what Angular did with their second version, basically. All right. So to cater to that issue, you can version your APIs. Again, that is less important one, but I thought if you guys come across it, this is what they're doing. But at least follow this standard: API slash and a plural noun. Okay. Yes.
The body as well.
What is it?
To delete.
What do you think? Does it need it?
Yeah.
Why would you need a body for delete? What's your SQL query for delete? Delete something and just pass an ID, right? And deletes the whole row. So I just need the ID. I don't need a body.
So the body is not correct. On the other side, it's gonna look like it is.
Body is for the put.
Okay.
Do you get it, Mike? I'm calling like simple CRUD operations. For the simple one, my select query is delete from this where ID is equal to 5, and it deletes that row. So I don't need a body over here in most cases. I just need the unique ID that I'm trying to delete that record.
So how's it different than the get that ID no body?
It's the same thing, but how is it different? Because I'm using delete.
So get's getting the body as well.
No, which one?
The get.
Get movies or get movies ID?
It's actually returning that record.
No, there's no. It's not getting a body. Why not? You are getting information, you're not passing anything. So you are just saying, hey, 5 and return me an object. This one is saying, this one, take an ID and go ahead and delete this record. Again, how are they different? HTTP delete, HTTP get. App.get, app.delete in our Express code.
Oh.
That's how it becomes different.
But when you put, when you put, you have ID.
Right, ID and body. Why? Because remember the SQL query, I have to set what am I trying to update. Right, I'm trying to update this record. Yes, in this record I have like 3 columns. What am I trying to update? I'm trying to update this column, so I need to pass in something. Okay. All right, everybody good on the concept? All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the coding part. All right, so this looks like I'm going to create a task. Instead of movies, we are creating a task one. All right, and I'll do the gets and post, and in the next section we'll look at the put and delete. Okay, so in this case, let's go ahead and create not over here. Let's call it tasks. Okay, we'll start with some database, right? So I'm just going to copy this and then kind of walk you through quickly. All right, create database. and then go ahead and use this database. And then looks like this database has two columns, an ID and a task. Let's change this to integer. Okay, this is my varchar primary key ID. Okay, create table, and then usually this goes in your seeds.sql, but we'll just keep it to one file, so I'm going to insert these rows here too. All right, so I'm inserting into my database a task column is called task, and then some task that I need to complete. Okay, everybody clear on the database side? All right, right click and you can go ahead and create this database. Hopefully this one is connected. Okay.
Are you just coding it on VS Code and you're going to paste it into MySQL?
No, I'm actually just going to try to run it from here.
Really?
I'm going to do a right click and run MySQL query. Remember we installed this MySQL thing?
Yeah, I installed it.
It doesn't work? Well, it's kind of, if it doesn't work, yeah, go ahead and paste it in your MySQL workbench. For example, it's not working for me, so let me go and make sure this is
You
running.
need to make sure that your database is selected in MySQL.
Well, I don't even have a database.
I mean your local host. Make sure it's like selected.
Oh, there it is. What do I have to select?
You just have to click on the local host.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I had to do a refresh or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boom, look at this.
So I have my database created. All right. So let's go ahead and I just want to go ahead and make sure task saver database, it has tables. Select star from, let's make sure all our rows are there. Okay, looks like I have 3 rows. This looks good. All right, so the next thing is let's go ahead and create some handlebars and then our views. So the folder structure was views, and within views I need to have my my layouts folder, and layouts has main.handlebars. Handlebars. Okay, and then I can create a couple of more. Let's see, what do I have? I'm going to call it tasks dot handlebar. Tasks dot handlebars. Okay, basically I'm just getting this data and I'm going to try to post some data. Okay, the next thing I need is my server.js. That's the one that is missing. So server.js. Okay, so in this code I am using all 3: Express, I'm using Express handlebars, and then I'm also using MySQL. Okay, so go ahead and import all 3 in your code. So it's going to be lead express require express. Okay, I'm going to copy this over. This is my express handlebars. Okay, and the last one is MySQL. Okay, for the most part, all activities, this is going to remain the same, so you can just copy paste these things. All right, so I have my imports. The next thing is create my port number. So I'm going to add const, and I'm using constant because this port number is not going to change, so I'm going to use, instead of var or a let, I'm going to use a constant. Okay, so this is my port number. And what else do I need? Now I need my express. I need to use the constructor for express and then set some properties. Okay. So let's go ahead and create our app variable called express. And then since I'm going to be using post and getting some things, this is from the previous activities that I'm setting these things. All right. Again, I'll quickly go over. This is from your previous activity, line number 9 and 10. What am I doing? These are called middleware functions of Express. What this is saying is that when a GET request or when the request is made, parse the data into a JSON format. That's all it is saying. Okay. So these two, the URL encoded is required for the post request. Without that, I think it passes you as a string or something, so it won't work what we are trying to do. All right. Again, this is like a template. Always, you will see in our activities, this is the exact same code we are going to be using. Again, the challenge would be you can create it into a separate file, import it over here. Again, if anybody is feeling they're trying to do something, you can do it. Yes.
You have const instead of var?
Yes, that's what I said. Because I'm using constant keyword, because my port number is not going to change. It's always going to remain the same. So instead of let, I just use const. Okay. All right. The next one is my handlebars. So go ahead and copy that configuration over. Okay. So this way I'm setting my handlebars. All right. I have my SQL. So the next thing I need to is create my connection. All right. Again, these all things will most probably remain the same. Actually always remain the same. So this is my SQL dot create connection. All right. It takes in an object with some properties. Okay. Properties are host, port, user, and database. I'm going to copy these over. Host is localhost, port number, password, root, the user, and your password. Okay, so you're going to place this with whatever your user is and whatever your password is. Okay, so far so good, right? The next thing I need to do is make my connection. All right, so I'm going to call the connection.connect method, connection.connect method. Right, it takes in a callback function with a passes an error. Okay, and then if there is any error, you can go ahead and console log that error. Okay, and then don't proceed, just return from there. All right, and if this is successful, you can go ahead and console log saying successfully connected to DB as ID connection.setID. Okay, everybody good so far? Same thing, yes.
I noticed at the top you have let const port and you have it as 880, and then down here when you have the let connect, you have it as 3306. Is that why you did?
No, this is your database port number. Two separate things. This is the port number where my server is going to run. This is a port number for my connection for my database.
Oh, okay.
Right. So two different ports.
Okay, two different ports.
I have a quick question about
Yes.
app.use.
App dot what? App dot use. Yeah.
Yeah, so anything that you're going to use on your server, you have to do an app.use for it. Like body points?
Yes. Yes. That's where it is. Yeah. Okay. So these are called middleware function. What happens is these are going to be executed before your request is executed. So when a request comes in, Express will do some of its magic, kind of convert everything, and then your request is going to. So these are called middleware functions. So Express kind of handles them before your request is hit. Yes.
So this is the same code as you were using for your CSS or the bigger file for using
You will use app.use, but you have to pass something different. It's a static file or something. But yes, it's one of the middleware functions. You're right. Yes. Yep. You will put that code over here. Yes.
So my Visual Studio Code properly install Microsoft Studio.
Of course it
So I have to uninstall now. So now I just have a syntax error.
Syntax error for what? For the schema.sql?
Yeah.
I talked to Nick about that it stays like that. But my database, like I have it.
It still works. If it's not working, then just use MySQL Workbench. So this plugin is add-on. It's kind of bonus part, but it's not kind of required. All right. Yes. What is it? All right. So yes, this is required for your post request. When your post request comes in, you are saying that there's going to be a post request. It kind of puts it into a nice JSON format.
Okay.
Right. If you don't do it, try this out. I think it comes as a string, and you have to parse that string versus an object. Kind of extra work for you. Okay. Now let's go ahead and write the code for our server to run also. Make sure this is running. So app.listen. Okay. Port number and then our callback function. Okay, and then just a console log saying our server is running. Okay, let's go ahead and quickly test this out, make sure this is working. Before that, I need all of these installed. So go ahead and make sure these are installed. Broken pipe. Oh, so everything is falling apart. Install handlebars and then install MySQL. Okay, let's test the code out. All right, successfully listening. My server started, my database is connected, everything is good. All right, so now we are at a point where we can start writing our APIs. All right, so this will be a little bit different. Please keep these in mind. We are going to get to a point where we are going to be writing exactly this. For now, the APIs will look a little bit different because our get is also giving us our HTML page, right? Because when we do a slash, it renders our HTML page also. So it doesn't exactly follow this because we are kind of building towards it. But eventually, this is how your APIs are going to look like. Okay? So the first thing is we're going to create a route. There's somebody who comes to our website without any route. You can do slash, so you won't have to type in the whole thing. Or if you do task, this is also fine. Right? Depends what you're trying to do. So in this case, you have to write localhost 8080/task to get over here. If you don't put task, it just by default comes over here. Whichever one is easy. The more important part is what happens inside this code. So I have my request and I have my response. Okay. So app.get, right? And then the next one is app.post. I'm going to stub these methods out and then we will look how to cater to that. Just copy these. All right, so you guys see the difference? Same URL, but the difference is between get and post. Okay, you cannot have two gets, exact same thing, but you can have a get and a post with the same URL. That's how Express differentiates it. Okay? All right, let's complete our get route. In our get route, we are going to read from our database. and then render our task page with the data that we get back. So the first thing is we need to read from our MySQL database. The method is query. Okay. So connection.query, and then I'm going to pass in my query params, and then a callback function, which will give me error and then results. Okay. And my query is going to be select star from the table is called tasks. Okay. Okay. All right. Um, if error, then go ahead and throw that. Oops. Um, let's log this error. Okay. And then we'll do a return. We don't want to proceed if something happens. Okay. All right. The next thing is I want to show all the tasks on my task.handlebars. Okay. So how do I do this? A response dot render, and I'm going to call my web page, the handlebars page task, and I'm going to pass in the array, but I cannot pass in array, so it's going to have to be an object. All right. So I'm going to call that array task, and what's my array that I need to pass in? Results. Excellent. Everybody got that? Why results? Because this is an array that is coming back from my database. Okay. Easy way to test this out without this is you can console log over here, and then you can see the results coming back. Let's do that really quickly. Console log results. Come on. Okay. Go ahead and run this. Let's go back to our browser, and then localhost 8080. Come back here, and you see my results are coming back. Okay. So it looks like this is running. I'm going to stop this and then complete the next part. So testing is done. Let's remove our console, and I'm passing this array to my task folder, task page. Okay. The next one is easy. It's the same that we did in the previous one. Let's go ahead and complete the main handlebars because that's easier. Okay. Create an H1. Say task to be done. And then what do I need to do over here? Body. Okay. So my handles. Okay. That's my main handlebars. Let's go ahead and complete our task now. So I'm getting an array. A list of tasks. Okay. H. What is H? It's like a combination of all the H's and it averages them out. All right. All right. Loop through them. Same code. Double and then hash each, and this time my array is called tasks. Okay. End this with /each. Okay, and then you can create a bunch of LIs. Okay. Some p tags. What do I have in my database? Oops. I have an ID and task. So I have an ID, and this is called ID, and then ID task. This is called task. Okay? Looks good? Alright, let's go ahead and run this. Now I should see it on my web page. I don't think so. I think I called it task. Okay? Refresh. And there's my list of tasks. Okay? So I created a post. I created my database, then I created my middleware, I created my UI. All right, let's do the post one next. Right, what am I doing in my post? I am inserting data. So connection dot query. Okay, my query. An array, and then my callback function. Why do I have an array compared to the previous one? Because I'm putting something in there, my query is changing. So my query is insert into a table called tasks. Okay, column task. Okay, and what am I putting? Values question mark. Okay, everybody remember? If you don't, please go back and do those exercises. All right, this is how you write the insert query from MySQL. And then over here, you're going to pass in what you're trying to insert. All right, this is a.
You always put the question mark in.
Yeah, you can skip that also. I think it works without it. But I'm trying to follow the exact query. I think use the parentheses. Why? Because if you see this translates to one-on-one with your MySQL statement, so that you guys don't get confused. You also insert into task, column names, values, and then you put a parentheses and you do values. So follow the exact same pattern.
There's something I saw
Keep
that
on.
said if you don't put a question mark in there, there's some MySQL error.
Exactly. Good point. All right. So there's a concept called MySQL injection. So if you don't put a question mark, what happens is somebody can pass in a query such as drop table or something, and it will drop your table. Read up more on MySQL injection, but to cater that, these are placeholders. What Express or MySQL does is, if there's a placeholder, it's going to isolate whatever is coming in as a string. It won't evaluate that as a SQL statement. That's why placeholders are important.
And people just like crash websites. I mean, it's just based
Right.
on MySQL injection.
Right. I mean, with today's tool, if that happens, it's kind of. I think they're still on older technology, but these days there are tools that kind of have taken care of those things. Hopefully, it doesn't happen. But always use placeholders. Now, I'm trying to. This is a post. My data is coming in the body. And how do I access body? What was that? Request. Excellent. Request dot body. Okay, and I am passing in a task. Okay. So I'm going to create an object called task, and when we get to the post, we'll see how this is. But it's going to come to you as an object, which is basically a string. Okay. When we create the form, the post form, you will see how this data is coming back. All right. If there is any error, throw that error. Otherwise, don't do anything. If error, okay. Log that error. Let's do just return for now. Returnal. That's not right. The sad part is JavaScript won't even complain. I'll be like, hey, everything is good. Like, everything is awesome. All right. You will see this line response.redirect. It just means that just stay on that page. Don't do anything. All right. So this is our post. For now, there is nothing special about this post. We are still using the same MySQL query and using this post. Oh, where's my listener? Oh, should be at the bottom. It doesn't matter where it is, but my OCD-ness doesn't let me. All right. So let's go back to our task, and then we are going to create a form here. You can go back to your exercises. I think in the last weekend we did a form where we were posting. I'm going to use the same code. So you have your form. Um, okay, and my form has some text area. This is your type text. Okay. Give it a name. Task. Okay, and then create a button which is going to submit this data back to us. Okay, put an action which is my URL, which is slash. I haven't done anything, and this is what I was talking about for the post method in your form. This is how you differentiate it. So you say a post. The text box will show when you click submit. It's going to call this URL, okay, with a post method, and this is this thing post with this URL. Yes.
Back on your task, is there a difference between spec or hashtag each?
Is there what?
So is there a difference right there where you have ID? So this dot ID and ID, is there a difference?
There's no difference. This dot ID, again, what is this? This is just enforcing that I'm trying to access the variable, which is part of this. That's what it does. But even I skipped it, it still works.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just
Yes.
Does each always respect the order that the things are in the object? Like if you order your query, will you definitely get that order in your list?
Yes. Yes. It will be exact same thing. Yeah. Yeah. If you do order by in your query and you get a sorted one, it's going to respect that. Yes. There's no async thing going on, so it will still be fine. All right. So let's go ahead and run this, and this should give me a form, and we should be able to insert something. Okay. Let's go back here. So these are my list of tasks. Submitted. There it is. It runs again. Comes back. Let's go to our database. Make sure. And there's my fourth row. Okay. You see how, well, not quick, but I submit and kind of embeds over here without using any jQuery, without using anything else. We're kind of going into what React is doing, and that's how. These are the advantages of a single page application. All right? Questions? Everybody good? Understand? What is it?
Oh, it's because you got the dark theme. I thought it was.
Why you guys be hating on my dark theme? This is like the third or fourth comment I've heard.
That's the best one. The high contrast is the best.
Yeah, I have icon just for you guys so you guys can clearly see. All right, yes.
So if you're gonna throw like a delete function to this.
All right, hold on. Delete function. Yes.
Because always see if it's different.
All right, guys, hold on. I can't hear what he's saying. If you are going to throw a delete
So
function.
right now what we're doing, we're using the app.post function to insert the new task into
Yes.
the MySQL. If we were going to add a delete function, like say like on click of the item itself, like that entire div we're throwing in, the entire element we're throwing in. Would you also do that in like you create a separate function and a separate app.post? Would you do that, or would you do
App.delete.
you could do an app.delete and just grab one chunk of MySQL code?
grab one chunk of
Like,
SQL.
because you want to remove it from your database at the end.
Right. So this will change. It will say app.delete.
Mhm.
Right. Everything remains the same. The query is going to be updated to the delete query. We're going to say delete from
Okay.
task
Delete from
where
tasks where value is.
value is, and where value where ID is equal to.
Okay.
And then remember how am I passing my delete? I'm passing in the URL. So my this is going to change, and you're going to say request dot params dot ID and then delete it. Right. The only change is you're writing a different query.
Gotcha.
That's what it is. And same array you're going to pass in, instead of body you're going to use params because I'm passing it as a parameter. Alright?
I have one quick question.
Yes.
So you said we can't use two gets, app.gets?
App.get for the same URL. You cannot have app.get slash and app.get slash. It's going to get confused, going to, which one do I need to call? Alright? But you can have the same URL with different HTTP method. And that's why this is what I was saying. Same names, different HTTP methods. Yes.
Can you explain again what it does? The request.body.task. Is that your exact?
Oh, this is getting the tasks that are being passed in from over here.
Okay.
So I'm calling it the name task. So whatever you type it in, it comes at it. So go ahead and try this. Run this slash in your Postman and see how it is. You have to pass in. You have to pass in. Let's see if it shows me in my browser. Stop that. Task. So you can actually look at the URLs that you are posting. Okay, it shows you this is the post one. Okay, this is my data, so I'm passing in task as task. So I'm passing it as a variable task and it has some string. If you look in your browser, you look at the request, the form data. So basically it is picking up this name over here. Where's this thing? So when you're making a request back to the server, it's creating an object, it's calling it task, and then it is putting whatever task that you put in over here. Okay, and the reason is this task name over here.
So the request is the body from the body of the HTML.
And within the body there is a property called task. Okay? Not sure?
No. I've never seen what you've done before with the console on the webpage, on the network tab.
Oh yeah, that's a really cool thing. You can look at websites and see what request. This is what I was saying. There's no security. You can make a post request. I can see what you're passing over here. I don't know what security they're talking about. It's all open. I can see what data I'm passing over here. Everything, unless you encrypt it, that's different. But it's there. Okay. Yes, Matt.
So body is an object of everything that's in that form that you've given a name. Like in this case, there's one
Yes.
name, right? But it could be like a whole list.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, you can put everything over there. So this form is kind of special. If you add a few more things, it's going to put everything together and send it back. Okay. All right. So the next exercise is you guys will do the same thing. It's called wish list. Wishes. All right. Exercise number 8. Again, I'll keep this code up, but you have to exactly do the same thing. It's just a different use case. All right. Do this, and at noon we'll take a lunch break, and we'll start back on 12:45.
All right. Can I ask you a question? Just close over here. Okay. So I was doing this because I tried to follow. I did it in here. I set up the schema. I ran it. One thing that was weird is I did that afterwards. I created the database first. I was trying to do slowly and not have anything in it. And so I ran it in here when Mike showed that, click over here to the local host, and then it ran. But I couldn't just select this. And
Oh no, you can't do it.
Yeah, for some reason it's not like showing up. The database.
No, it doesn't. In Visual Studio, you can't do the selection thing.
Okay. Well, so then you have to do it all at once if you're gonna do it.
Yes.
Okay.
There's no other
So then it kind of works. I just don't know why it's not. I tried to follow step by step. So, dang it. Okay, so yeah, it starts throwing errors now. So it works, you know, the port works.
What is it?
So then, cause look,
Close the connection.
no, I think yeah, it's closed. So
No, the exception. Right, that guy?
okay, let's see. I don't know. Oh, it works.
Where's your MySQL? No, on your code.
Oh.
Did you console log there? This thing, why is it?
Yeah.
Why is this not coming up? In your console log, you should see two consoles, right? Your server is running, that's
you're
good,
right.
but there's something wrong.
You're right. Okay.
I didn't see what's wrong, but you got it?
Like the pop up for you, the like the other search on there. Sometimes it'll pop up for me.
I don't know if there's like auto, I don't know how auto that though. But yeah,
I was
having the hardest time
yeah,
with that word.
Like if you type like
I don't know.
like I mean like if you type RES then it might
Oh, yeah,
auto
autofill.
results.
Oh, yeah, the autofill.
Yeah.
That's what my
Oh,
I mean, it is the same.
Once you do it, I mean, it comes, I mean, at some point, yeah. Oh, again, that is only optional part, it's not the actual. It's actually pretty cool. It's cool, yeah, I have like, I use it all the time, so I like it. Like, and it's not pretty hard. That's why I said if it works, it's good, if it doesn't work, just use my SQL.
what is the MSSQL?
Master skill what?
That's the Microsoft.
Is that the Microsoft?
Oh, yeah.
So I just created a schema and it's like, this extension is recommended for this. And I was like, what
That's
is
why-
this?
That's why.
That's the trap.
Yeah.
MySQL server is so Microsoft SQL server. It's so much.
Yeah, I did that and then
We can like save layout.
well now I have to like make say what is here first and what is here first.
You can't even just.
No, I can't, it won't let me like, in Visual Studio, it won't let me run. I mean, with that, I have to use.
Honestly, dude.
So yeah,
Yeah, and this isn't actually.
I mean, you can, there's not really.
That's what happens.
No, I got yeah, like I mean, so that's for something else. It's just for my secret stuff. What you're doing is you're just trying to install the enhanced right. So you don't need to worry about that. That's too so yeah, if that is just to create the package directory. So when you run it in Client, it will install all of your packages. So you can know
Maybe that's why it's so tight.
what's there and there and there. No, without that. So you don't need to try to list as many. Oh no, I don't like that. Visual Studio only installs like SQL, you might have, but I use copy paste like that. There you go, and now you can go to your package.json file. I'm getting a import
Oh, don't worry.
Hey,
that's what I'm worried about. Oh, I'm worried already.
Yes, I
I
did. mean, that's the thing, is you don't have to worry about it, because you can try it, and if it doesn't work, you just delete what you did, try it. So now you can try red because you got all the if you go back to your wishes, so yeah, you can now check if you want to now check and see like if you're I know what you mean because it's in your package JSON and that's generated automatically.
Got it? I don't know. My butt is big. Slow down as you maneuver your way. I can't help my butt is big. I will. Really? We got a few more weeks. I want to cut out that crappy person every time.
If I start a procedure, right now people are having difficulty writing the same story. If I take that one,
Just add, I mean, the database would be the database.
I don't think it has.
Yeah, I did, but it's not. I got this. Ready for the break.
So that is one program.
Oh, and they have that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It's almost two. It's almost two.
Yes.
It's like the more action, and method post.
You can do it. So it's not going to do this thing. I'd rather not. You don't have to straight.
You got roots there? Restrictions apply sometimes.
I'd rather just copy and paste it. I mean, Daniel tried showing you guys how to run it.
Normally you do that.
In your if it doesn't,
I just can't remember.
this is my super
I just can't remember how to do it.
How to do what?
How to run it after you recreate it.
So when you run
That, isn't it?
Type in no, then S, hit tab, and just slash it.
Hamburger one.
Type in S.
And I don't have them, it'll tell you.
So you need
Yes, yeah. Because I was thinking, I was like, oh, maybe it's in the trunk.
Can't drop it.
Not really. I mean, my buddy kind of showed me some
that might be part of your problem.
So why need to go to SQL first?
You need to tell what host you're going to be creating the database. Otherwise, if you don't have that, it's like,
What's
a what?
But I was, when I did this last homework, I did grade store problem. So it didn't have response.
So that needs to be. So, no. Again, this is for your SQL query.
That's what it takes for the connection.
What is that?
Connection.
The
syntax requires this whole
Want to make a boo-boo?
Yeah. Follow this.
It's the same format.
Where did you work at?
Looks like that all the time.
Yes.
It's going to be this code is going to be the same all the time.
Yeah.
These things, all these line number 13, line number 21, these all things are going to be the same. What is changing? And this also connection is always the same. Okay. What is changing is these routes. That's all that is going to get updated. Everything else remains the same.
What did it used to be called? It used to be called Orbital and ACK. It got acquired by Rocket.
Yeah, Rocket, yeah, during Gilbert.
Yeah, Chandler Gilbert, yeah, South Chandler.
That looks fun.
Yeah, he works with that.
Yeah, they do defense concepts.
Yeah. He likes it a lot. He likes
Well, it actually worked, but he likes being in that sector, that field. He's really interested.
Yeah, he is super interested in that.
I tell my employees are firing out rockets. They said like a hobby project. I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah.
So,
I thought about it.
select all permissions,
Fine there. Once I'm done. She said they might need some people. That's interesting.
So are we using
Works?
red.send or we need red.run?
Oh yeah.
So what is the difference between
Yeah,
red.send and red.render?
So boom.
Render is used to render the
And then in that, when you do the handlebars
So
thing,
What is it?
when you're using the handlebars, like the app.get, because that's what was messing me up. Like I had written everything and I was coding it, writing it. I wasn't just copying and pasting it.
Okay.
But I didn't put the handlebars in for whatever reason.
Oh, the configuration?
Yeah, so whenever I was running it, it was saying it didn't have the engine set up. Yeah. That one I actually copied and pasted.
Okay. So that, I mean, you saw that error. Now it's confirmed that if you don't put something, it's not going to work.
Yeah, and it made sense though.
Yeah. Okay.
Something like that. So I might just go for one of those at first just to get started. in the door, and then after that, I'll get that job, and then see if I can start applying for jobs. So I have like that experience.
It's on my list.
Yeah, but I was talking to one of my buddies, so his stepdad's, he's some years for so long time, so he does interviews and stuff like that. Oh, I didn't tell you about this. Kevin's stepdad, he's a super senior developer.
And then,
he's done, yeah, his mom was a developer.
Really?
Yeah, Kevin's mom was. And so that's how his mom and his stepdad met.
So, open up that, so you should have.
Yeah, but he was telling me that, like, he's like, a lot of it is because he's done interviews, when he's interviewed people before, and he's like, it's all about.
Yeah, you can just,
mainly personality, obviously, they don't ask technical questions, but they understand that they're coming out of the.
depending on
It's, yeah, it's that's what that's basically the question. Coming into it,
I think we have way more.
that was like what?
Because I just know some guys
Instead of console and
text
text,
me
you
and
do
console
we're just doing
I mean, yeah, for us, we know so much more, and like Daniel's always saying, the basis of most of the languages, frameworks you use are similar. We have way more knowledge.
It's true.
All of this is do what you just did. Verbalize it.
All right, guys. It's noon. So it's noon. We'll take a break. We'll start back at 12:45. 12:45. Okay. Yes.
I haven't added it yet. If you don't get it now,
And then
Yeah, so similarities here is that we're still doing the same thing, except we're writing the back end.
So get the default
So redirect, so it is probably default, so it does. So redirect, so I added a redirect post, right?
Yeah, I get that it's legal code, but just different codes like that.
Well, yeah, you only have one stack, right?
The instrument that helps me and
I mean, there's a get out of code, so I'm saying.
Oh, yes, we got one out, yeah.
Get of that route.
So when you go,
No, it is technically
yeah, redirect.
So this is the same thing, saying,
Yeah.
I did it again. Okay, that's what I figured. Yep. Okay.
How you doing then?
Yes.
you have that?
Yeah, it took forever.
Yeah,
There's like syntax that they website. But you had to work.
How we doing? Fair enough.
Oh, okay.
It will join the learning. And then find out what's like it.
Okay.
That's why.
Any questions? You guys good with this stuff?
Yeah.
And I work with one just that one static all day yesterday.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as far as the short
And I
ones
just give it
go,
up. That's
so
just it. I just give it up. And then there were
those
messages
ones that are
about
already
it.
like built in, you
And I was
can
like,
create your
I
own.
read it and I was like, oh, I'm using this. And I'm like, oh, I'll try it. And it started working. And I was
But
like,
you should be able to create your own, at least
But I
those
didn't
basics
even-
and stuff. But you can also
I tried
install,
different
there's a
variations,
bunch of
different
different
files.
templates, depending on the UI
It's gonna be
framework.
Google.
All my links on my Google
On the first and second page, I watched some videos. Like, what happened was my file path.
That changed a load of them. Yeah.
So
So you can.
everyone was saying just public.
You just have
Public. Yeah. Yeah.
You'll be able to.
Yes. But I was using the common.
Yeah, but I would just realize like. Because you're used to doing it like React.
Like the results for Stack Overflow, they give you like the menus and five
That's what
attributes.
everybody are all purple.
You were going down, you're getting.
I was reading every
Going deep.
still, but it's like.
Okay, and this we have to build that.
Yeah. Well.
Alright. It's
We
food.
do print finder right now, yeah.
What time we come?
12:45.
45?
That's all I do.
I like. Well, I don't know about these.
No worries.
Yeah.
I'll take a break. I'll come back to you once I know that. Okay. I'll be back. Appreciate it.
Are we gonna still be working on that when we get back? Or is that just kind of a paste it in, switch the values in order to review
Yeah,
it?
that's the as long as you understand, because there's another exercise that's going to take you all 4 of these, so that's you have to type that out. So if you complete it, it's fine. Otherwise, we have another exercise that's going to walk you through the same thing, and including the put and the delete. So
Depends on what you want.
Can you do all the Mongo stuff right from VS Code?
no, I haven't found a way. Yeah, that's they have another UI. It's called Robo 3T. That's what Robo 3T.
Mm.
You can use that to work with Mongo as a interface, but by default, like Mongo doesn't come. Mongo is all terminal based. You have to like type it out on your terminal to get any queries working. But somebody created a Robo 3D, and that's what we use. In Visual Studio, I haven't seen any extension.
From some of the projects, it just seemed like it was less verbose. Like you didn't need to type as much.
With Mongo?
I don't know, that was just the impression I got.
Yeah, but what I feel like Mongo is a bit trickier and a little bit it takes a little bit more to understand because the syntax is completely different than MySQL. To me, like MySQL kind of makes more is like more close to English language. You're like, oh, select this from this. Okay, I get the idea. Mongo is like passing in JSON objects and passing that in and just adding it. It's shorter, definitely, but
Shorter, but
it takes a while to
more
understand. More advanced, yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
become more.
That's right after project 2. Yeah, Mongo, I think.
You know, where we are code wise.